few weeks ago, a brand new action camera manufacturer from China called Gitup got in touch and offered me to do a review of Gitup 1, their first action camera ever produced. And in this video, I'll do an extensive review of this $109 priced camera, which comes with lots of bells and whistles. And trust me, I have been testing it for a while, every morning right after I get up. Yeah, it was a lame talk. Gitup is a brand new company based in China. As a matter of fact, this camera is their first public product ever. In order to make Git 1 different, they added few options that no other action camera in this price range has, such as external microphone and instant AV video output support and excellent remote control wristwatch, which is absolutely amazing. Camera has Sony image sensor and Novatech chipset. The fact that they included Sony sensor speaks a lot about the quality they are striving for. Camera weighs around 64 grams with a battery inside and around 154 when put in the waterproof housing. It has a 1.5 LCD screen on the back and can record videos in 180p 30 frames per second, as well as take 12 megapixels images. Let me tell you right away that 12 megapixels images are interpolated ones because the sensor can produce images up to 2 megapixels only. I will talk about it in just a moment, but let me first tell you also that camera supports up to 64 gigabytes micro SD cards and also has 950 mAh battery, which is slightly better than some of its competitors in this price range. Camera can be charged via the USB and of course the wall charger. Gitup is also compatible with all GoPro, HD4000 and other mounts of that same type. Camera comes inside a rectangular cardboard box wrapped with this thick paper wrapping. Once you remove the branded wrapping, you see that there is also one more white mini box inside, and opposite is just a waterproof case with camera inside. I quite like the packaging of the camera itself. It arrived perfectly safe here, and this is huge because if it arrives safely and survives my mailman, trust me, it is packed properly. Okay, inside this smaller box there are a bunch of accessories and gears, and I will show them to you just in a moment. You should know that Git 1 is available in single color, only black, and the shell of the camera is made out of the plastic and edges are slightly rubberized, which prevents slipping and scratches as well. On front, camera is similar to MCOV 5000S, and if you haven't watched my MCOV 5000S video, I'll put a link to it in the description. You can see now the size of the camera on the screen, and as I mentioned, with waterproof case it weighs 154 grams and without it 64 grams. Waterproof case allows camera to go underwater to up to 30 meters according to manufacturer, though I haven't tested the waterproofness of this camera at all since I'm not a diver. Interesting thing about the camera is that it has this lock mechanism that according to manufacturer allows much safer underwater protection and prevents accidental openings of the case. It is a bit harder to open it at first, but once you figure it out, you will get used to it. It took me quite a while to figure out how to open it, but I'm not the brightest fella for sure. This button here is called power button, which allows you to turn your camera on or off and also change through different modes such as photo, video, preview and system settings. At front of the camera, here we have a camera lens in top right corner. Top left has two LCD indicators. One here indicates that camera is charging and the one here indicates that camera is turned on. As you can see, the design and the buttons are pretty neat and camera looks quite simplistic. On side of the camera we have a micro SD card slot, and slightly below the slot there is a Wi-Fi LED indicator which will flash blue once your Wi-Fi is turned on. Below the LED light is the Wi-Fi button itself, and in order to turn on the Wi-Fi you simply need to hold this button for a few moments once the camera is turned on. This button also has double function. Just as a reminder, this button is also used as a setting button for video and photo mode. Do not worry if you do not understand this right away, I will go through the menu in just a moment. But on the other side of the camera we have the USB port, which is USB type B, USB port here is actually a place where you place the external microphone. You need to have a microphone with this type of USB, but if you do not have one, you can also use 3.5 jack microphones, but you need to buy a converter, and I wrote about this more in depth on my blog, and I will put a link to it in the description of this video. And HDMI out, which allows you to preview photos on your PC or TV. Also, this HDMI supports AV out and will enable you to use this camera for field point of view if you're flying quadcopters. Next to it is mono internal microphone. Besides the LED indicator located at the top left corner at the back side of the camera, there is 1.5 inches LCD screen. Having an LCD screen is fantastic. It not only helps you improve video and photo composition by allowing you to preview what you are recording, it is also a huge time saver when it comes to changing settings and adjusting your camera. One difference between this and plenty other cameras with LCD is that Git 1 LCD is not totally flattened with the camera back. As you can see, it goes a bit inside. This is good because you can lay the camera on the back and you do not have to worry that you will scratch an LCD. However, there is one con of this design as well, because the dust will eventually get into these corners. That is why it is necessary that you clean it properly. And I also made a video how to properly clean your action cameras and LCDs and lenses, so if you're interested you can browse through my channel and check out this video as well. It is quite useful. On top of the camera we have the shutter or OK button, which allows you to take photographs, start or stop recording videos, and confirm options inside the menu. Next to it is also an recording indicator which will flash to indicate that you're recording video. Quite helpful. And there are actually two of these, one at the back and one on top of the camera, quite decent, and I really like how this LED look. Though in extremely bright sunlight there is a chance that you won't see these indicators quite well. At the bottom of the camera there is a battery compartment. Inside there is 950 mAh lithium-ion battery which powers this little camera. You can also use 900 lithium batteries in case you have one spare from SJ4000 for instance. Approximate battery life of this little fella is around 2 hours of continuous recording in 180p 30 frames per second. This means that battery will approximately last around 116 minutes if you're recording with the LCD screen turned on all the time. However, if you enable screensaver, it will give you additional 10 minutes of recording, so you can record around 126 minutes of continuous recording without turning your camera off. Battery life is far from perfect, but at the same time it is slightly better than some of the competitors. For instance, SJ4000 has, as I mentioned, 900 mAh battery. It perfectly fits here and logically gives less recording time than this one. After I initially received this camera from manufacturer, I had a huge problem with it. Gitup somehow forgot to put some sort of support on the battery back cover, which caused battery to wiggle quite a lot. This wiggling meant constant turning off on the slightest shake. I immediately informed customer support of Gitup, and they assured me that this is quality controlled issue and that it is related only to the 10 or 15 cameras they sent to reviewers. I was told that this happened only to beta testers and reviewers. In theory, it is not a problem that you as a consumer will have. I hope this is true, and I somehow believe the guys from Gitup because they were quite open from start, so I really hope that they fix this. In case they haven't, there are a bunch of ways you can tighten battery, so just put a tiny piece of foam if you have one, some sort of plastic of course, or even a toilet paper. I used toilet paper at first, though it is not safe, I guess, to use any sort of flammable materials like that. So if you have any issues with the battery wiggling out, please let me know in the comment below. I would like to know if anyone else is facing this same problem. For action camera that moves constantly, this is quite a serious issue, and I hope that they fixed it. Gitup 1 comes in two different versions. There is a standard one priced at around $89 and Pro version priced at $109. The difference between these two versions is only in additional accessories that come with camera. Standard version includes only the most basic equipment such as camera, lens cap, battery, USB cable and manual. On the other hand, for $109 in Pro version you get quite a lot of additional stuff, and if you already own an action camera with a gear, you might not be needing these gears, but if you do not own an action camera or any of its additional accessories, I highly recommend you to get a Pro version, because here is now what is inside the box. Besides the gear that comes inside the box, there are a few pieces of gear that are sold separately. First one is external microphone, and this is big deal. The support of external microphone is what makes this camera stand out from a bunch of other Chinese manufacturers. I haven't had a chance to buy and test the microphone itself, but according to a few forum members, that external sound really makes a difference, and it is logical. Having external sounds is very important for guys who want to do voiceovers for their videos while riding a bike, hiking, driving a motorcycle. So it is highly recommended if sound mattered to you, buy external microphone. There are priced at around 19 bucks on official manufacturer's site, though on Amazon there are a few that are quite cheaper. One feature that absolutely blows my mind is a remote control watch, which smoothly allows you to take photos and videos without having to touch camera itself. Watch itself is water resistant to up to 3 meters, so if you want to use it for diving, it is not recommended to use it, which is a shame, but for surfing and similar activities, it is a must-have gadget. I used it while driving a car to take photos and videos at the same time, and it was a huge time saver. I really like how it works. Compared to some other remote controls such as Suku S60, this one works much smoother and connects to camera right away. The watch itself is made out of rubberized materials, whereas the strap is some sort of cloth. I really like that the strap is not rubber, because in some instances this sort of cheap rubber can cause skin redness, especially if you sweat a lot, and I do when I'm hiking. So this one is quite comfortable. It does look a bit like a toy, but it is quite comfortable to wear it. The range of the remote control watch is around 5 to 7 meters, so you can use it as a remote shutter while camera being on a tripod or on top of your helmet. For larger distances you will have to use the Wi-Fi app. The watch itself consists out of 4 simple buttons which provide most basic functions. Up here is the Wi-Fi button, which allows you to turn Wi-Fi on or off. Here is a video button that will allow you to start or stop recording a video or switch mode to video if you hold it. Photo button does basically the same as the video one, just takes photos instead of videos. And up here is a power off button which turns off your camera. You should be aware that camera has to be turned on or on standby mode in order to remote control watch to work. You cannot turn camera on, and it has to be done manually, which is something I did not like, but I understand that it is not quite possible to do it. Retail price of this watch is around 30 bucks. However, I figure out that GearBest sells this camera at 109 bucks or even less, and they include a free watch with it. So if you would like to save 30 bucks, you should get this camera on GearBest, or if you're buying it on other sites, please ask if they're giving away a remote control watch. Let's see how this camera works in terms of video and photo, and later we will deal with setups and all other things. Camera allows recording in full HD at 13 frames per second. Additionally, it offers few other resolutions you probably won't use. As you can see, there is no support of 60 frames per second in full HD, nor 120 frames per second in some lower resolution, which means that slow motion in these videos won't look as good if you enjoy doing slow motion. Now on the screen you can see the video resolutions in which camera can record, and for most of the people the first one at 30 frames per second will be more than enough. Thanks to the Sony sensor, Git1 produces pretty decent video in both low light and bright light. However, if you're looking for 60 frames per second camera, you can take a look at Xiaomi Yi and BlackView Hero 1. Both of these cameras I reviewed in depth, and you can check them out either on my blog or on my YouTube channel. You now see that quality is quite good. It is very sharp and has a great wide angle. Also, colors are pretty naturally looking. It creates much better video in terms of colors compared to HD4000 for instance, which is one of the most popular camera these days. I also noticed that wide dynamic range on video is quite good. Camera will produce sharp footage even on objects that are out of distance or even in shadow. Quite a good feature, and I recommend you to have the VDR turned on. And do not worry, I will talk about VDR a bit later when we take a look at settings and setups. One thing that came along as a problem is that when camera moves fast, there is some sort of smudging or distortion of the objects that are not moving. It is hard to explain, but take a look at this video now and you'll see what I mean. This usually happens when camera is inside the waterproof case, but I cannot understand why it happens when the camera is not inside the waterproof case. I assume that this has to do something with wide angle lens that the Git 1 is using. Besides that, I'm quite satisfied with the video camera produces. Now I will let you enjoy the videos I have taken. I'll play some music, and do not forget that if you want to take a look at the raw video samples, I will put a link to it and you can download actual video samples that I have taken, since YouTube always compresses these videos and they do not look as good as they look when you preview them on your PC. So if you would like to download them, check out the video description. I will put the link to it as well. While the video quality is quite good and with natural looking colors and better than most of its competitors, photography is something that Git 1 can't be proud of. While the photos are decent for web and social media, for anything more serious than that, they are just below average. On the screen now you can see advertised image resolution. Manufacturer claims that the camera can take up to 20 megapixels photographs. However, 20 megapixels is just an interpolated resolution. This basically means that it will appear that the photo is taken in 12 megapixels once you take a look at it. Once you try to zoom the photo, you will realize that this is nowhere near the apparent 12 megapixels. Colors of the photographs are quite good, and a wide balance setup will allow you to customize your footage and photos to incredible matters. Take a look at few image samples I have taken, and later I will show you the basic setup and menu overview of this camera. One interesting thing about Git 1 is that it gives quite a lot of space for users to experiment and tweak with settings. You have basically 3 different settings. You have video settings when you press settings button while you are in video mode, image settings when you press settings button while you're in the image mode, and system settings when you press on or off button while switching through different modes. Even though at first it seemed quite confusing to me to have 3 different types of menus, I quickly realized that categorization like this makes options changing much faster for both photos and videos, so it is quite logical to have it this way. All of these 3 menus offer different options which will be covered in the next few minutes of this video. If you do not want to take a look at the settings and menus, you can skip through different parts of video and video settings. While you're in the video recording mode, press settings button to enter video setup. You'll now see here plenty of options, and I will now talk about each and every one of them, what it does and how it works. So loop recording means that the camera continuously records the videos in selected intervals without stopping. This means that if we select 2 minutes, for instance, once the camera reaches a 2-minute video, it will stop and start recording another 2-minute video. So basically something as a video sequence. However, as your memory card gets full, the camera will erase the oldest file and overwrite the new overwrite. This is highly recommended settings only if you want to use the camera as a dash camera. Video time-lapse. Video time-lapse will help you create videos looking like this. I was a bit puzzled at first with these FPS options, but I managed to figure out how they work. So one thing that should be improved in future is definitely support of more intervals, similar to what they did to image mode. Be aware that if you want to have 30 frames per second video, you will need at least 30 images for 1 second of your video. This means that if you want to have a 30-second video, you will need 900 frames. If you're one of those people who enjoy taking family or group photos with their friends, this camera offers you automatic self-timer. You now here see that it can support 5, 10, 20, 30 and 60 seconds. This means that if you select 20 seconds, for instance, once you press the shutter button, there will be a 20 seconds delay between a click on the camera and actual taking the photographs. This gives you enough time for you and your friends to say cheese and make perfect photo. If I could choose only one camera that gave me most control over a white balance, this has to be one. Git 1 Action Camera has a wide range of options for those of us who enjoy experimenting with white balance. There is a total of 10 different white balance scenes to choose from. In my experience, auto mode works quite well and it gives the most natural look. However, setup will certainly depend on the light condition in which you're recording. Image that you now see on the screen illustrates how different white balance setup can give different look of your images. By setting exposure to different levels, you basically change how bright or dark your video or image looks. VDR stands for Wide Dynamic Range, and it helps your camera to produce more realistically looking and sharper images in situations where the light and illumination vary a lot. For instance, while recording, you have a situation where one object is in bright light whereas the other is in shadow. So by turning VDR on, camera will record with more details and more contrast, and VDR helps sensor to determine more accurately and understand different light intensities and increase details or sharpen them in this case. Plenty of cameras I tested have this VDR, but this is one of them that actually works, so I'm quite satisfied with wide dynamic range of this camera, and I would highly recommend you to have it on while recording or taking images. This camera has quite a large field of view. While in the most cases this is great, sometimes you might want to reduce it. Field of view is 170 and it can be changed to 120. With 120 field of view, the sharpness of your video will reduce slightly, but also the narrow angle will correct any sort of wide angle distortions. This is handy, but you should be aware that it will reduce sharpness of your video. As for me, I always use wide angle. With motion detection turned on, your camera becomes some sort of a home surveillance camera. In theory, it should start recording as soon as it detects motion. However, this option is not as reliable as it sounds, so use it at your own risk. If you ask me, use it only for fun, do not use it at your home. G-sensor is a dash camera feature. Its main purpose is to start recording as soon as it detects shake or shock. You can set G-sensor sensitivity from high to low. High means that camera will start recording at the slightest shock, and low means quite opposite. Okay, those were the video settings. Let's now take a look at the image settings. There are some options that overlap between each other, so I will not explain each and every option that I already explained in video settings. I hope you understand that it makes no sense to talk about them once again. So here you can see the time-lapse image sequences. Similar to video time-lapse, image time-lapse will take photograph in selected interval continuously. So if you choose 5 seconds, camera will take photograph every 5th second. Differences between these and video mode is that in image mode you get tons of images, while in the video mode you already get a finished right out of the box time-lapse video. Color option allows you to choose different colors. You can choose from color, which is default, black and white, and sepia. Besides the video and image settings, you have system settings, and in order to turn them off you basically need to click mode button a few times. Inside system settings you have basic camera functions such as language, which allows you to choose from different languages, as this camera supports up to 9 different languages. Image rotation is a great option if you're mounting a camera upside down on helmet or windshield of your car. You can rotate video just by turning the image rotation on. This way output video will look normal even though the camera has been facing the ground. As you can see on the LCD screen, lots of info appears on it, and for some people this can be quite distracting. So if you do not want to see those icons on your LCD screen, you can turn on-screen display off. Since the battery is always a problem for action cameras, having a choice of reducing the battery consumption is quite handy. With screen auto sleep turned on, your LCD will be in standby mode. This means that screen will be idle but camera will still record. You can wake it up by pressing the OK button or any other button. Auto power off is for oblivious people like I am, who often forget to turn off their devices. If you select 1 minute, camera will turn off after 1 minute of inactivity. When car mode is turned on, the camera will start recording when the car starts up and shut down when the car is turned off. You will of course have to connect it with the car charger, which is sold separately. Okay, let's now talk just a little bit about user interface and navigation and overall experience about this camera. If you ask me to pick one thing that I really never expected to be so good about a Chinese camera, that is indeed a user navigation and interface. Without any doubt, the Git 1 is one of the best and easiest to use action cameras. Trust me, I tested tens of action cameras with quite distracting and idiotic interfaces, and this one is quite good once you get used to it. In my opinion, software developers did a great job, and I cannot wait to see in which direction their Wi-Fi apps and other menus will go in future. You should also be aware that this action camera does not have a digital zoom. Git 1 action camera has its own built-in Wi-Fi. With it, you can connect to mobile devices or tablets and take full remote control over the camera. However, at the time of making this video, Git 1 has not yet launched the application, and its Wi-Fi app is not ready yet. On one hand, I'm quite disappointed that manufacturer released the Wi-Fi camera without the app. I cannot believe that they actually did this. Lots of people use Wi-Fi apps, and it is not good to release Wi-Fi camera without having application ready. However, on the other hand, I understand that they are a new company to the market and that it takes time to make everything work. So, until their application is ready, GitHub suggests users to use alternative app which is called Final Cam. Since the app has not been launched, I will not review the alternative one because it makes no sense to review something that was made by third-party manufacturer. I should also point out that GitHub has pretty good customer support, and if you want to read more about my experience with their customer support, you can check the article on my blog. So let's now summarize the entire and overall experience of using GitHub for a few weeks. For a new brand trying to break through the competitive market, GitHub did quite a decent job. In my experience, I have not encountered any software problems. Video recorded are quite sharp and colors are natural looking as well. Camera has reliable Sony sensor which give decent result even when facing direct sunlight or in low light condition, for its price of course. Camera comes neatly packed with bunch of additional gears. Even though lens cap is quite a cheap piece of gear, I really like it. Optional accessories show how serious this company is. I found the remote control watch absolutely amazing, and it allowed me to create bunch of photos and videos on the go. I also like that camera enables taking photos while you record the video. There are also plenty of options for people who like to experiment and try new things and make their videos different. So if you're one of those people who likes tweaking through settings, GitHub is great for that. Support of an external microphone is great addition and will be a huge thing for guys who do not want to spend much on camera but want to have external microphone. User navigation is also an absolute breeze. Customer support is responding fast to people's queries, and I like the fact that the team is active on other forums as well, which means that they are actually willing to do research of the market and support customers. However, there are some cons of Git 1 camera, and here they are. Sound volume is quite good, whereas the quality is pretty average and cannot be considered great. There is some sort of hiss due to the quality of the mono microphone inside. Luckily, if the audio is very important to you, you can use the external microphone. When it comes to video, I have two objections. Considering the price of the camera, it would be great if they managed to squeeze 60 frames per second video, because these days this seems quite important for some people, especially the ones who do slow motion. For me, it is not a huge deal because I'm mostly recording 30 frames per second. Bigger issue is that sometimes camera struggle with getting a proper exposure. Also, when camera is moving fast, some objects which are not moving look a bit stretched and smudged, and this can bother some people quite seriously. Photo quality can be a lot better. Camera has only 2 megapixels, which make image sharpness quite an issue, even though for any sort of web sharing or social media this will be pretty good. Lastly, I had an issue with a battery which wiggled, and I hope that this won't happen to anyone else, since the manufacturer assured me that it just happened on 10 or 15 cameras. Also, I'm quite mad that the Wi-Fi app has not been finished yet. Luckily, there is an alternative app that you can use. To sum up, I must say that I'm very pleasantly surprised with Gitup Git 1 camera. I think that it provides good value for the money, especially if you buy it with a remote control packet. With its pros and cons, camera justifies the price tag in my opinion. Okay, we should also have in mind that this is their first product, and my criteria for their Gitup 2, which is coming quite soon, will rise for sure. That was pretty much everything. I hope you enjoyed the review of this camera. If you have any other questions, suggestions, idea, please feel free to drop me a comment below this video. I'll be happy to reply to each and every one of you. If you already own a camera and would like to share your experience of using it, also post a comment. I would very much like to hear what are the things that you like and what are the things that you do not like. As always, thank you very much for watching this video. I appreciate your guys' support. Happy recording, and for more information about this and plenty other of action cameras, check out my website www.sjcamguides.com, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so if you would like to stay in touch with me and my latest content. Until then, happy recording and bye bye.